We've got the TX22 Compact in for review from Taurus. Coming up, we'll take a look at what's in the box, some important notes from the manual, fit, finish, and features. We'll do a little bit of trigger talk, field strip it, and give you an idea what you can expect in our range video. All coming up next on GB Guns. Semi-auto 22s are loads of fun, great for training. For some folks, possibly the right choice for defense. Not necessarily what I would recommend, but for some people it's an option. And it's nice that Taurus now has a compact size 22 with decent capacity at. So we've got our lock, our manual, lifetime warranty card, a discount coupon for Viridian Laser, some NRA stuff. The rest of the box you have the gun. Now it did come in the bag with the tag on it about limited lifetime warranty to remind you about that. I already pulled it off because I wanted to make sure I understood how to field strip this thing. It is a little bit different, so you'll pay attention please when that part comes up. A little easy loader, which is nice. Second magazine. These magazines are a polymer body. They do have little helper tabs on the side to help make it easier to load. Stacking rimmed cartridges can be tricky, or at least you just have to pay attention more than you do with rimless. And I noticed with these magazines that the spring is in the front of the body. That means the most pressure is on the front of the follower. That should aid quite a bit in reliability, since nosedives are something that tend to happen with 22s. I believe that's all that's in here. Oh no, we have a thread adapter here for those who want to run a suppressor or muzzle devices. Nothing else underneath. Get this stuff out of the way and we'll take a look at some notes I have from the manual. I know there are a lot of experts out there, or alleged experts, that are too proud to take a look at manuals. I'm not one of them. For one, I believe that a manual gives you an indication of how well the company wants you to understand and be comfortable with their product. It also gives you an indication of how much thought went into this being a final product before it was released. So it's kind of a way to judge things. The manual is full color, which is nice. And right off the bat, something that kind of struck me that was interesting in here, where was it, is the safe carry condition bit. It basically talks about what is safe for carry and what not, by letting it be up to you and what you're comfortable with and where your level of training is. Taurus recommends not having one in the chamber, not because the firearm is not safe, but just as a basic liability thing for themselves, because of course if someone hurts themselves, they try to go after the manufacturer first rather than maybe owning up to their own mistake. So I thought that was a nice touch in there. As far as ammunition, there's nothing specified in here as to what ammo to use or avoid, other than using reloads or stuff that might be over pressure. There's the specs. Hopefully the camera will participate with us today. The camera's getting a little old. I'll ask the patrons, maybe it's time we upgrade. I'll also have all these specs as well as MSRP and things like that over on gbgunsdepot.com, where we're going to put the full review. But the menu overall is pretty well done and fairly clear. I had to go through it a couple times for the field stripping because it's similar but different. More on that in a bit. Goes over stripping your magazines. Everything's a nice color. They used renderings where you can't get a camera, for example, to swap the magazine release. So completely understandable. That's enough about the manual, and yes, this is an optics ready pistol. Let's get this out of the way and talk about the pistol. Right, here we are with about a 3.6-inch barrel and 13 round capacity. What kind of size are we looking at? Well, I wear double XL gloves and I've got 2.5 fingers on here. Really comfortable grip, like surprisingly comfortable. Nice texture that is not going to shave skin off your underarm or your side of your stomach. I'm sorry I don't do that on camera, hope you guys don't mind. But grip shape feels really nice to it, and these indentations here I found as soon as I picked it up, perfect memory spot for a finger, and you can see it's plenty long. There's plenty good spot there, so people with smaller hands will fit in there, as well as a comfy spot to index that support hand thumb without having to dig into the rail, which is what I tend to do when I'm trying to really hold on. Not that you need to necessarily with 22, but it's good for practice. Start things off, of course, by showing clear. You can see right down in it, we've got a clear firearm. And let's lock the slide with the rear and see if we get magazine release or eject. So with the slide back and magazine pointed up, that's obviously release. It's maybe cut a little bit, but obviously the magazines drop free without issue. It's just something I always look at curiously. In fact, was it getting, yeah, it's dropping right out. Not an issue there. So now that we've got it clear, drop the slide. I do have some dummy rounds here. These things are chewed to heck just because we're gonna do some dry firing, and typically dry firing a 22 is not a great idea because the firing pin will slam against the backside of the barrel since it doesn't have a rim to hit. As you can see on this one, which has had lots of dry fire. If I can get the camera to focus on there. Those of you that are new to 22 LR, rimfire, see how the edge of that is chewed up? That's from firing pins hitting it. These snap caps are just aluminum, they're not actual ammunition, for our YouTube folks and any brand new viewers. So we've shown clear. Let's start off at the front of the gun. We've got a flattened off end here with the recoil assembly sticking out just a wee bit. Did notice that there's lots of slide play here, but you notice that barrel stays central in there. It locks up good and tight here, so slide play is going to potentially have your sights be a little bit off, but since we're not shooting a mile, it really doesn't matter. We have serrations on the front of the slide for doing press check and be able to practice manipulations that way. Also have these speed holes, as people love to call it. These are for reducing weight, and that's particularly important on this pistol as a 22 LR because it's also optics ready. 22 LR pistols are direct blowback. Notice the barrel's not shifting there. It's merely the mass of the slide and the spring rate that are keeping everything sealed up until pressures drop, and the rearward force overcomes that and starts to cycle the gun. As a result, when you add weight to the slide, you run the risk of reducing potential reliability. So throwing 1.5 ounces or 2 ounces on top of a red dot might be enough to make the gun go from running fine on some ammo to needing hotter ammo to run. So by putting these lightning cuts in here and the slide feels like aluminum, they're making sure this has the most chance for reliability. I also noticed they're great for grabbing onto because you can get some actual flesh in there to be able to run the slide. We have a single slot for accessories underneath, light or laser. No texturing on the front of the trigger guard. A little bit of a hook though. That hook there would also double for those who like to use the support hand finger over the trigger guard. Most Americans don't shoot that way. Some do and do it very well. Jerry Mitchell, for example. So I wouldn't say it's the wrong way of doing things. It's just not the way that many others do it. We notice underneath this breadth here under the trigger guard, and it contours in nicely. That lets the finger slide in and glide in very nicely and comfortably, and gives quite a bit of surface area there to help ensure you've got a good level hold on it. Magazine release is reversible. We have a slight finger swell, but not, I mean, it's pronounced, but it's not Gen 3 Glock. It's not locking your finger in a position. And you'll notice a little bit of toe kick here. That helps for smaller handed people. Let's imagine that, here we go, I'll try to get my pinky up there like I had a small hand. That gives you something to squeeze on and really hold on. That tends to help folks learning how to shoot on a red dot, which, since this could be a great training pistol and it's red dot ready, chances are you're also learning dots on it. Typically, finding a dot is a vertical orientation thing, not a side to side. And simply squeezing the bottom of the hand is a great way to adjust the tilt of the gun in hand. Gets you on that dot faster. Give you a close-up of the texture. It's that fissure texture that has become sort of the standard these days. And we've got some nice contours, and there's a little bit of, you can see the heel swell there, and we've got some side swell, and I found that filled the void in my palm very nicely. It's part of what I thought was really comfortable with this gun. Do have a manual safety on here. If you don't like it, don't use it. You can try resting your thumb up top. Just be careful you're not dragging your thumb against the slide because that can cause malfunctions. I'm probably going to keep my thumb free and clear of it. The safety is on both sides. We've got a black dot rear dot with a U-notch. We have a white dot up front for a good sight picture. This striker plate looks like it's got the witness for a striker indicator. However, I don't see it. Show what I mean. Let me get my snap cap in. Well, chamber that. So it's chambered. Not seeing anything there. As I press the trigger, no movement back there. So I don't think that's a witness for the striker. All controls are, we've got ambidextrous for the safety and a swappable magazine release. So this could work for left hand or right hand. While we're there, why don't we do some trigger talk? Get these snap caps in and we can talk about it. You have snap caps in case you are new to firearms or new to rimfire. So it's called rimfire because, as we showed, the firing pin hits the rim of the cartridge, and it has a rim. You see how that last part sticks out flat, makes kind of a base for it. That makes stacking difficult because you can end up with a mixed match of stack. If you've got the one on top rear of the one below, it can't push forward without trying to push the one beneath it forward. So loading can be a little tricky. Have you noticed on this magazine there is this little V cut? What you're going to do is pull down on these tabs to make it a little easier. Don't want to pull it all the way down. Just take the pressure off and stick the rim of the cartridge in that V. It'll drop down. There we go. And then release for everything is set up nice and happy. Take the pressure off. Drop the rim in the V. There you go. And that's how that's done. Now the trigger. With our dummy rounds in, well, first off, how's the safety work? With the safety on, you get to pull, but you come to a definitive wall and it won't go past that. The take up to the wall is spring loaded. You can feel a little bit of pressure build. And it's pretty crisp. That was not bad at all. I'll check our reset. Very short, crisp. It's just for the wall. That's a pretty nice trigger. Not bad at all. Good job, Taurus. That was pretty impressive. Now we know what that's like. Let's field strip this thing, take a look inside the gun, and this is a part that might involve some frustration points for you. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. If you guys already own one of these have been out for a while, let me know in the comments below. But let's field strip next. So field stripping, and to my YouTube reviewers, this is part of end user maintenance and safety to make sure the firearm is in good working order and safe to operate. It's not disassembling the gun, nor when I put it back together am I constructing a gun. I am merely putting this back together into working order. We're going to check for clear. Gun is empty. And slide forward. You're going to bring the slide back a little bit. Taurus recommends holding like this and using your thumb to push. All you have to do is squeeze this thumb and that pushes forward. Pull down on this tab, which is actually a bar that wraps underneath here. That bar there. Pull down on both sides. Release the slide, pull the trigger, and then the slide's got to go forward about 1/2 inch and it just pops off the top. This is reminiscent of some Canex. There are other guns out there that like this, but it's not quite the same as what I think a lot of people are accustomed to. The first couple times my slide needed a bit of a bump. I had to hit it a bit more to get it to pop up. Not pounding on it, no tools needed, but it needed a little bit of a bump, so just be aware of that if yours is also brand new. Taking a look inside, you can see we've got plenty of steel in there and steel rails front and rear. Big old hunkin' block, and that takedown lever activates this portion here in the middle, which locks up on the barrel. Now you notice that we were able to take the slide off without doing any funky over the back or anything like that. That's because this is not a fixed barrel. It's a fixed barrel gun, but it comes apart a little bit differently thanks to that little lever there and how the inside of this works. Inside, it's going to be very familiar for those of you that already have other pistols. We've got a spring here, press, release, it comes out. Dual spring, captured spring, which is really nice. I like dual spring guns because they tend to shoot a little bit softer and also be easier to rack because you get some momentum going as you're racking the slide before the second spring kicks in. To get our barrel out, give it a tap if it doesn't already unlock. Since it's not a burning action, there is no actual physical lock here, so you can see it's loose. But bring it forward a bit and tilt, and you'll be able to take it out the rear. We can see that this was definitely test fired. Got a little bit of schmut on the feed ramp there. Chrome lining, yeah, a little bit of carbon still inside. And then we can take a look inside of our slide, which is very lightweight. You can see we have a steel breech face for safety, and then the rest of the slide is aluminum, and it looks like maybe even some polymer in there. That's all done, of course, to keep this lightweight, because the lighter the slide is, the more reliable this pistol is going to run. Reassembly is sort of the inverse of disassembly. However, I had a couple hang-ups that I want to point out to you guys, just in case you run into the same thing, so you don't get frustrated or confused. Once again, the barrel doesn't lock, so it's just going to be free-floating in there. There is no wrong direction for this recoil assembly. Just rest the round side in there, like that. It looks just like it did when it came out. And now when it goes back on the slide, you notice that we don't have any openings back here. So you can't just bring it on over the top like you would on other guns. What you got to do is take these cutout spots here and line them up with the rails. So get these lined up and bring the slide down, and you notice that the takedown lever has popped down under pressure. Rack it and it should go back into place. However, if it doesn't, like this is what happened to me a couple times, as soon as you pull the trigger, the slide's going to be able to go forward. So I just racked it a couple times hard, letting it snap forward, and you saw it pop back up. When I let it snap forward like that, this goes back into place, and now everything's back together and ready for the range. Speaking of the range, when we get this guy out to the range, you'll see our absolute cold shots first impressions. They are the first shots we ever put through this gun. We'll do full magazine +1 to see how the magazine runs. Our trademark What's for Dinner test, which with 22 LR can be really important. 22s can be picky. We're going to run at least 10 different loads through this, probably 11, maybe 12 loads through it, find out what it likes. We do have a mini spinner for 22. It's kind of different. Might be able to try that, see if we can get that thing to work. It's kind of beat up. Then you'll get some practical accuracy and the concluding thoughts of two shooters, myself and Miss Tia, as far as how this thing handled and how our experience went. We may also be able to get young TJ on this, since it is a 22 and lightweight and fairly simple to understand. He's shot a few times, not a whole lot. We're thinking this might be a good firearm to introduce him to, and as luck would have it, the serial number begins with 1TJ, which I think is kind of fun for TJ. So we might include that. That might be something that we put on our other channel if he decides he likes it and wants to learn, and we're open enough to film those things over there. I know a lot of you have requested that we turn that second channel into sort of a vlog lifestyle thing, a little more behind the scenes. We might do that. I don't know, it's kind of tough. We both have real jobs, so it's not like we have tons of time to be running around with the camera on. Anyways, that is the TX22 Compact. As you can see, it's about the size of most compact firearms, maybe a little bit thicker. You guys can judge based on the specs in the gbgunsdepot.com article, but it sure feels nice in the hand. Surprisingly comfortable, surprisingly well shaped. Of course, Taurus tends to have that built into their guns. Not sure which order this is going to come out in, but I'm filming this as my 278th tabletop video. That's 278 times we've gone through all this stuff with every firearm. I want to thank you guys for the support over the last 8 years. That hijacking and hack that we recently had was a scary time for us, because even though this isn't how we make money, it's still a passion, and well, it's been a lot of time and energy, and watching it disappear was pretty scary. Thank you to the YouTube personnel who worked over the weekend to get us our channel back so that we can keep bringing you guys all these videos. 8 years in, let's keep going. Thanks for watching.